City Council expected to debate the bubble zone bylaw today. If passed, it would restrict protests around places of worship, daycares, and schools. Clara Pasica is at City Hall for the debate. And Clara, what more can you tell us?
Well, Dwight, here at City Hall, there's already a significant presence of people on different sides of this bylaw issue. It's a controversial one. This would be around certain places of worship, certain schools, faith-based daycares, things like that. It would be that you could apply to have your institution, entity included in this bubble zone bylaw. So 20 meters around it, people wouldn't be able to protest around the space sort of there. So some have called for this, some are really against it. Both sides actually making arguments saying that it erodes charter rights. Some of the groups here, some groups are saying that they're here protesting, wearing red, saying that this erodes the right to protest, saying that it's a slippery slope. There's another group, groups of people here who are very much in favor of it, saying, you know, things have gotten really out of hand in terms of protests, so this is exactly what is needed. We had the chance to speak to Councillor James Pasternak, who is very much in favor of these bubble zones, and he had this to say.
There's very robust protesting, where the goal of many of these protests is to disrupt and destabilize various events, to block entrances. Much of their chanting is shut it down, so the rights are for them and not for others. So we need to put protections in place, an established legal tool to protect the rights of those who want to enter these buildings.
Now, James Pasternak represents a ward where there have been some protests around some Jewish institutions, and he says that he's been hearing that from his constituents, the calls to have some sort of bubble zone. But Gord Perks, another councillor in the city, saying that he won't support any version of this bylaw. They are debating, and it's expected that the exact form of this bylaw might change through the course of the day. He says he'll have no part in it. We had a chance to catch up with him before he headed into the council chambers this morning, and he had this to say.
Councillor Pasternak has clearly never read any legal decision on this. That's not how the Charter of Rights and Freedoms works. And frankly, the fundamental piece that it all rests on is our right to speak our minds, our right to assemble, our right to gather and protest. We wouldn't have a city council. We wouldn't have the right to religious freedom. We wouldn't have the right to democracy if we couldn't speak our minds and protest.
So councillors will be debating this. If it goes through, it's set to kick in July 2nd. We will be following along this council debate closely to see how it all unfolds.
Thank you, Clara.
It's been a busy few days at City Hall with many things on the agenda, and today Toronto City Councillors spent hours debating one particular item, the long-discussed and controversial bubble zone bylaw meant to protect religious institutions from protests. Lane Harrison has been following the proceedings all day. He joins us now. Lane, what's the latest?
So, Kelda, one of the most controversial items on City Council's agenda has just passed here at City Hall, meaning that Toronto will have a so-called bubble zone bylaw restricting protests near certain places of worship, daycares, and schools. Now, what this means is that those places will be able to request protection under the bylaw and receive a 50-meter protest buffer zone around their property. Now, this was voted through with 16 councillors and the mayor voting yes and 9 councillors voting no. And Kelda, as you said, that decision came after a heated debate.
For more than a year, Toronto's streets have been filled by intense protests as a result of the Hamas-led attack on Israel and the country's bombardment of Gaza, leading some city councillors to call for a bubble zone law that would prohibit such demonstrations near religious buildings or schools.
What we've seen is a pattern of harassing and intimidating the Jewish community, Jewish school children, Jewish seniors, because of a foreign war that we didn't start and don't control. It is not legitimate to intimidate Toronto Jews because of a foreign war, no matter how horrible that war is.
The chamber was filled with those for and against the bylaw, including a protester who was removed while councillors spoke to media at lunch.
Nobody spoke into context.
While others made their presence known during debate.
They don't want to hear from anyone else. They want to shout.
Councillor Pasternak, please speak through the chair, please.
Critics of the bylaw say it limits people's rights to free expression. They say police already have powers to protect access to property and intervene if there is a threat to safety.
I am not going to discount that fear. I'm not here to judge how people feel. But I am going to say that it comes at such a substantive cost to all of us. Because I think what we need to recognize is that the Charter of Rights and Freedoms is not just for one group, it's for everyone.
Every single right anyone in this chamber enjoys was won not by the Charter, it was won by protest. Protest is not the enemy of any right that you have. Protest is the means by which that right was won and will be protected.
While supporters maintain it's about safety.
I don't want to see a city where, a family trying to go to faith-based school or people who are trying to go and practice their faith, go access their places of worship, that they are subjected, that they have to push through hateful mobs that are trying to intimidate, harass them.
So Kelda, this bylaw won't apply to every place of worship, school, or daycare. Instead, the operators of those locations will have to request protection under the bylaw if they believe or have reason to believe that a protest will be occurring within the buffer zone of their property. And then once they are granted protection under the bylaw, the so-called bubble zone will last for a year. And Kelda, this bylaw is coming into effect on July 2nd.
All right, thanks so much for this, Lane. CBC's Lane Harrison reporting from City Hall.
Mining is a $16 billion a year industry in Ontario, and with global demand surging for certain minerals used widely in tech, the Ford government believes mining is key to the economic future.
If Australia and the United Kingdom and France and Germany and the US and South Korea can open a mine faster than Ontario, how can we be left behind?
A bill making its way through Queen's Park would amend the province's Endangered Species Act and give Cabinet the power to create special economic zones where projects could be exempt from provincial laws. The bill would also commit the government to deciding on mining permits within 2 years, cutting the current timeline in half.
That is a significant reduction. It will be amongst the fastest permitting regimes in the industrialized democratic world.
I've gotten really tired of hearing about how long it takes to develop a mine and how this is all because of environmental assessment and regulation and permitting, when the fact of the matter is it's almost entirely due to economics.
The global average for a mine to go from discovery to production is more than 15 years. In Canada, it's nearly 18 years.
We are meeting to resume public hearings on Bill 5.
In a committee room at Queen's Park, the legislation gets a grilling.
If a massive landfill can be forced on the edge of our town without full environmental review, whose town is next?
This bill, if passed, could undo decades of conservation efforts and threaten some of Ontario's most vulnerable species.
This is wrong. This bill, this fast tracking, that's not what we want. We want to protect our land.
We're proposing
and a staunch defense from Stephen Lecce.
The environment must be protected, but so too must our economic interests of the province. And I would reject, as some will try to make it seem like you got to pick a lane. We pick both.
With the PC majority, the bill is almost certain to pass as is. It could become law before the legislature breaks for the summer in early June. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
A sea of umbrellas and safety vests. Hundreds of workers marching up and down Front Street under the pouring rain and outside the WSIB building. The union representing them says the workload their members are subjected to is unsustainable.
Our anxiety levels and our depression levels are much higher than the national average. And despite this, WSIB has refused to act. This has to change. It was like that when I was a case manager on a desk. I worked through my lunches. I came in early, stayed late.
What's the falling? Boss is stalling. The two sides have been at the bargaining table since late February.
Workload actually isn't a definition in the collective agreement itself. There is in the collective agreement a note that we will work together with the union on addressing that.
Hello, everybody. OCEU is part of the Canadian Union of Public Employees. QP and other labor leaders joined to support today's rally.
These workers are frustrated, deeply frustrated, because while they've shown up time and again, trying to negotiate in good faith, WSIB management has refused to do the same, and the consequences of this failure are serious. The working conditions at the WSIB are pushing people to the brink. The WSIB says over the last few years, caseworkers have seen the number of cases they oversee go down. The union says the latest offer tabled by WSIB proposes wage increases of 2% in year one, followed by 1.5% and 1% over the next two. WSIB would not confirm those numbers, but says there's a comprehensive offer on the table. In the meantime,
all of our non-union employees and hundreds of unionized employees who have elected to continue working are on the phones, are helping people every day. We have systems in place to make sure that if people are hurt at work and they need help, that we are here to help them.
The WSIB says anybody who is already receiving benefits from them will be prioritized. The union says it's commenced rolling strikes where they would dip in and out of work, but WSIB refutes that, calling it a full withdrawal of service. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
Family, friends, and the entire student body at Sir Allan MacNab High School in Hamilton gathered in the same gymnasium where Shea Gilgeous-Alexander used to do this. Back then, Gilgeous-Alexander wasn't the standout he is today.
Shea was just one of the guys.
His grade 10 coach at MacNab says SGA wasn't a starter early on that season, but coaches quickly realized he was a special player and that he needed to be on the court as often as possible.
The work ethic was there. You could see that from day one, that he was in the gym and in the video room and doing all that work.
It's the same work ethic that has helped him rise to the top of the NBA and a big reason why he was named the league's most valuable player. General Manager of Canada Basketball, Rowan Barrett, says it's also why many believe Gilgeous-Alexander has yet to reach his full potential.
Each year he gets better, right? And he's leading the league in, I think he's scoring, he's leading the league in steals, right? He's blocking shots. I mean, he's doing everything that it takes to win.
Gilgeous-Alexander becomes only the second Canadian to earn NBA MVP honors. The first was Steve Nash, who actually won it twice.
It's amazing. This is a very special moment for me. I genuinely get super excited to see his success, and it's really probably my favorite player to watch.
Obviously, Steve walked the ground first, but Shea is he's stomping on that ground right now.
The school now has this giant mural painted on the wall outside of the gym where Gilgeous-Alexander used to play. His title sponsor, Converse, put up 3 murals just like this one, all at special locations chosen by SGA himself. Not surprisingly, his former high school was one of them. Members of MacNab's current basketball team say SGA is an inspiration to all students here.
Knowing that he's been inside this building and in his gym, it's a pretty unreal moment.
It's crazy. It's nice knowing that someone out of a public school like MacNab can do big things in the NBA.
Gilgeous-Alexander's former team also did great things this season. The MacNab basketball team has its own banner in the gym as the 2025 OFSA champions. Greg Ross, CBC News, Hamilton.